What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking all about C-section recovery. Now I will say there is some like TMI in this video, so if you don't want to hear about blood, or you don't want to hear about wounds, or you don't want to hear about things like that, or just like the female body and what it does, like probably don't watch this video. But if you are interested in learning about C-section recovery, I'm going to share my own personal experience. Now, this is the only kind of delivery I've ever experienced. I have never had a vaginal birth, so I don't know what to compare it to, but I have had an emergency C-section, and prior to having one, I had no idea what to expect, and I did try to like do some research just in case, and I couldn't find anything on it really. So I'm going to make this number one so that in the future when we decide to have a second or third children, I know what to expect, because for some reason our brains forget these things. And number two, to hopefully shed some light for some of you that also have no idea on C-section recovery. Now, Ember is sleeping in her little bouncer right over here, so hopefully she remains asleep for this video. If not, she's gonna join us, and that is totally okay. But I asked for you guys to like ask your questions about C-section recovery over on my Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, be sure to follow me on Instagram. I share over there every single day. YouTube is more just kind of a fun thing that I do on the side, and it's not super consistent, as I'm sure you are aware. But I asked over there for you guys to ask any questions that you had about it, and I'm gonna go over all of those today. I do want to start by saying C-section recovery has a lot of similar things as a vaginal recovery from what I understand. Like I said, I've never had a vaginal delivery. However, you still do bleed when you have a C-section. Something I had no idea about until like a couple days prior to having a C-section. I had no idea. No idea. I guess I just didn't really think about it, but I know that a lot of other people had no idea as well, like after talking to people. So you do still bleed for like the normal time frame that you would with a vaginal delivery. I think they're the exact same. Like it can be anywhere from like 2 to 8 weeks or something like that. But I will say, personal experience, I was terrified of this because I heard so many people say like, oh my gosh, there's so much blood, oh my gosh, I didn't even know what to do with myself, like it is terrible, like the worst things ever, right? And I understand, like going through pregnancy, going through birth, like all of that, people tend to share like the worst case scenario, but I personally did not have it that bad. But I also have never had like terrible periods growing up, so maybe the two go hand in hand. But I did want to start by saying, like, number one, that is the first thing that came to mind when talking or thinking about recovery, is you still do go through that phase of recovery. So if you are planning to have a C-section, still plan to get like maxi pads and stuff, because obviously you can't use tampons and things like that. That's where we're starting. That's where this video is going. So here we go. Going into your guys' questions. The thing that I got asked the most was, what were the first like 2 to 3 days or like week at home like? And so I thought that I would kind of go over that. I am now 7 weeks postpartum, so I feel like it's been kind of a long time, but at the same time it feels like just yesterday that all of this happened. But I delivered Ember Tuesday morning at 2:14 a.m. and we were obviously there that night because I was laboring up until 2:14 a.m. and then we stayed the rest of the night, and then we were there Tuesday night and we went home Wednesday evening. So is that right? Yeah, we were there Monday night, Tuesday night, and then we went home Wednesday evening. So we didn't technically stay as long as most people do with a C-section. Because she was technically born on Tuesday, we actually went home on Wednesday, so we were only there 1 day after she was delivered, which is typically what happens with a vaginal delivery. But because I wasn't complaining of pain, because I had no major complications, because I like got up and started moving around a little bit, they were okay with letting me go home with the pain medicine that they had me on, which was, I think, just ibuprofen. It was like 600 milligrams of ibuprofen, and I took it every 6 hours. But I didn't really take much medication in the hospital because I wasn't aware that like you should. And honestly, I wish that I would have when they offered it to me first, because the pain kind of got ahead of me a little bit, and then I was in a lot of pain. But it's just a weird pain, like, and like I said, I have nothing to compare it to. Like, I've never had a vaginal delivery, but it's like all in your core, like lower core, which you use a lot of when you're sitting up, when you're standing up, when you're laughing, when you sneeze, just like all those things. And so even in the hospital, she's starting to squirm a little bit. Even in the hospital, I realized that it was going to be a challenging recovery. I got up as soon as they allowed me to, as soon as they took the catheter out and helped me get up. I did get up. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to like walk around the halls. So I just kind of walked around my room a little bit, and then I got back in bed. And then that evening we got to go home. I will say, just in case you have a C-section, bring clothing that's not going to be like tight across your lower stomach. I brought sweats. I also brought leggings, but they were both like right across the incision, and so it was a little bit painful driving home with that. As soon as I got home, I put on like baggy pajama pants with like a really loose waistband that I could tie. So that's personally what I did. I'm gonna grab Ember really quickly and bring her over here so I can bounce her. Okay, so she is sitting right here. She'll say hi by the end of the video, but I'm gonna try and keep her calm while I talk through all of this. You might hear little baby sounds. Hopefully they're not annoying to you. They're kind of like, I don't know, I don't even notice them a lot of times anymore, but she's gonna be grunting and making little noises right here. So the first day home, really we got home in the evening. It was like 4:45 p.m. So we just kind of lounged around on the couch. Didn't do much, but like I said, I put pajama pants on right away. Then it got to bedtime, and I started thinking like, how am I gonna lay down? Like that was the most amount of movement that I had ever had to think about at that point. And I was like, how am I gonna lay down and be able to like sit back up to grab her out of the bassinet if I need to? And that was probably the thing that was the most challenging for me the first 2 weeks. Was reaching down, or like sitting up, reaching over and grabbing her. They say not to lift anything heavier than your baby, so I was being very cautious as to not doing that. But just sitting up in and of itself was so hard for me, something I didn't expect at all, because I've never heard anyone talk about that. Because obviously, like with a vaginal birth, you don't have an incision across your stomach, and so like sitting up without like propping yourself up was very hard. So what I ended up finding was the easiest to do, which was still so hard, and I honestly had to have Jacob's help a lot of times, was I would roll onto my side, which even rolling onto my side was so hard. I would roll onto my side, and then thankfully I continued working out my whole pregnancy. I would use complete arm muscles. That's all. I didn't use any core at all, and I would push myself up, and it would take quite a bit of time, like a couple minutes, before I could get up to a seated position and grab her, which was super frustrating to me, because when your baby's crying and you're a brand new mom and you just want to like comfort them and make them feel safe, or like help them or feed them or change them, whatever they need, like it's very frustrating when you can't get to them in a matter of seconds. And so that was probably the hardest thing for me the first week at home. Jacob had to help me a ton. He helped me like sit up a ton. The first night or two, I think maybe 3 nights, I slept inclined, so it was a little less like having to sit up, and that was super hard. Now when I got home, I was also scared to look at my incision because I hadn't seen it yet. Yeah, it's all because of you, but it's so worth it. I hadn't seen it yet, and my stomach was still obviously like kind of looking pregnant, because that's just how it is after birth. And so I really couldn't see the incision other than looking in a mirror, because like I had loose skin still covering the incision a little bit. So I had to have Jacob check my incision often, and aside from looking in the mirror, I couldn't really see much, and I didn't want to like pull on it. So I didn't know how big the incision was for probably the first week or so, but that's another question that I got, is like, how big was the incision? And it was probably about this big, so probably like 5 or 6 inches, but it has shrunk down a ton, and it will continue to shrink down as I heal. Like I said, I am only 7 weeks postpartum. So the hardest thing the hardest thing the first couple days in the first week or so home was just going from like a seated position to a laying down position. Moving around the house was very slowly happening, but the more that you can walk, the quicker you heal, is what I've heard, and the better it is for you. So I did make sure that I was walking around a ton as I felt I could. I started doing little things around the house. I was told no laundry, no driving, and really just to take it easy. But after that first week, I did start like cleaning the house a little bit, doing some laundry, doing things like that, because I just felt better to do some things rather than just lay down all day or sit down all day. I will say I got some high-waisted like granny panties, I guess you could call them, just like bikini bottoms, I guess is the real term. Underwear, bikini underwear, bikini line underwear. But I got high-waisted ones because prior to having her, I just got normal bikini underwear, and they rode right across my incision, which was so hard. So I did use like the diapers, the adult diapers, for the first couple days because I had to wait for those underwear to come in. But I do have those linked in my Amazon favorites because they were a lifesaver during recovery, because they went right up to like my belly button, which is not the cutest, I know, but nothing in recovery is. But it really made like healing better because I didn't have something like pushing right against my incision. So that was something that I learned the first week. Aside from that, I think that was basically it. I didn't do anything to my incision as for like cleaning it or disinfecting it, aside from when I showered. He told me to just let the water like rinse over it and use mild soap, and to pat it dry with a clean cloth after I took a shower. And so that's all that I did for cleaning the area. But yeah, that was kind of the first week. I just took it super slow, and obviously they're so tiny at that point that they're not like hitting it. I did have to be careful with the dogs because they like to jump on us when they're excited to see us. I didn't go on a walk or anything like outside of my house for, I think it was the third week. Do you want your binky? It was 3 weeks in that I finally went on a walk. And so as soon as you feel comfortable enough to go on a walk, highly encourage it. I do think that made a huge difference in my healing process. But I also had her right around the holidays, like right around Christmas time. So it was nice to just take it slow, be with family and stuff like that. Another question I got asked yesterday when I posted it on Instagram was how to get rid of the pooch after being cut open and having your abs moved around. And I don't have a like real answer for this aside from my own experience, and everyone is so different. But getting up and moving around, I think, made a huge difference. It's all gonna come down to like how well you took care of your body before and during pregnancy, I think, as well. So before pregnancy, obviously I was in really good shape. I was probably in the best shape of my life. So I had a really strong core. During pregnancy, I worked out the entire time. I drank tons and tons of water because water helps your skin stay elastic, which helped with stretching, right? I used collagen to also help with that. And then after, I really didn't do much aside from continuing to drink a lot of water and moving as I could. But I didn't really start like actively working out until 5 weeks postpartum when I was cleared. So I do still have like a little C-section pooch, but I don't have a doubt in my mind that it will completely flatten as I continue to work out, drink a lot of water, eat properly, and work my core a little bit as I go. But it really comes down to, I think, genetics, how you're treating your body, what you're eating, things like that. But I do think that like how I treated my body before and during pregnancy had a huge role in that as well. When do you know that you are healed? When your doctor tells you that you are cleared, I would say that you're safe to do or to resume normal activities. I was cleared at 5 weeks, which I am so thankful for, because I was under the impression that with C-section, you had to wait like 8+ weeks to be cleared to work out and do anything normal for physical activity, and that was not the case for me. I know that some people do have to wait longer, but my doctor cleared me and said I was good to go at 5 weeks. I was so happy because I really wanted to start working out again, just easing into my workouts. Obviously you had a major stomach surgery, so you have to take it easy. Like I also did some, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen, I did some like pelvic floor recovery, like core recovery workouts. The first, I think I started on my third, maybe it was my second week. They're very mild, like they're nothing crazy. And it was more so just breathing exercises to kind of help my core like come back together and tighten, which was awesome, to just do some sort of movement. But you're not really healed from a C-section for over a year. There's a lot of internal healing that has to happen. They say not to get pregnant again after a C-section for 18 months, which is totally okay for me. I'm not planning on having back-to-back pregnancies. But you have to imagine, like I think they cut through 7 different layers to get to the baby, and so you have to let all of those layers heal, and they do move your abs out of the way. I don't know if they cut them or if they move them out of the way, but either way, like your body has gone through major movement and major surgery, and mine was an emergency, so it was like quick. It was like get in there, get the baby out ASAP. And so it was very tender and very sore. I will say I also did have the start of an infection. And I mean, I don't know if there's anything I could have done to avoid that, but on Christmas Eve, we actually like went to the hospital because I was nervous because it was like leaking, like pus, which I know is so gross, but again, it's just something to be aware of. And I called my doctor and texted him, and right as we got to the emergency room, we hadn't gone in yet, thankfully, because Ember was screaming in the car. She was hungry. I was crying because I was scared. Jacob was freaking out because he was rushing us there. And my doctor told me like that like they probably wouldn't do much, and so to let it leak out and to just keep it clean. And I was already on antibiotics because I had seen him for my 1-week checkup, and he noticed it looked a little bit red, and he just wanted to be safe through the holidays. So thankfully he put me on antibiotics because it kind of kicked that infection in the butt right as it started. But that was frustrating to deal with. There were a lot of tears the first couple weeks healing, just because I couldn't do things that I felt like I should be able to do. But like I said, you're going through a major recovery, so you have to give yourself time. Another question was how to care for the incision, how big it was. Like I said, it was probably like 5 inches, and caring for it was just keeping it clean, keeping it dry. My battery died, but we're back. But as I was saying, like, everyone's journey with pregnancy is so different. Everyone's journey to bring these sweet little babies earthside is so different. So this is just my own personal experience. Like I said, the hardest part was moving those first couple days. Going from like a lay down to a sit up position was so hard the first couple weeks, because I did experience a little bit of an infection. I'm sure that slowed the healing process to an extent. Leggings were and still are my best friend. Everyone always says like, oh my gosh, you look amazing. But remember, like, high-waisted leggings do wonders. So I still have tons of loose skin. It takes time. It took 9, almost 10 months to create this little life. Give yourself time and allow your body to heal after you have them. Don't rush the process. You'll hurt yourself doing so. But really, like, I'm trying to remember all the things, like the hardest parts of recovery, and I know that like I'm already forgetting those things, which is probably why people continue having kids, because that first week I was like, I'm not sure I want to have any more kids, just because it was so hard. Like healing, oh my gosh, sneezing, coughing, like those things were hard. Laughing, those things were so hard. And still, if I'm like laying in bed and I cough or I sneeze or I laugh, if we're watching a movie, like it still is a little bit painful. But I got the question like, how long till you feel normal again? And you guys, I still don't feel normal. I still have a little bit of numbness around the incision, which is normal. Like they literally cut me open. But are you laughing at me? They literally cut me open, which affects like your nerve endings and stuff like that. So it's normal to have some numbing. I have started probably around week 5, started putting like a vitamin E oil on my incision and just massaging it every single day to kind of help with the scarring and stuff like that. But I am very pleased, especially with it being a C-section, I'm very pleased with how straight the line is and how like thin it is already. And so just doing what I can to kind of slowly help the process. I was cleared to work out, like I said, at 5 weeks, and I started a bar program, which is a low impact, high intensity workout, which has been amazing. And I just take it slow. I modify where I need to, and I will continue doing so, but it just feels good to move. So I'm very thankful for that. But you know what, to have another one of these, I would do it again in the future, not right now. Like I said, they recommend like 18 months with a C-section because there's a lot of internal healing that happens. But this little girl, she's pretty worth it. Even though we have lots of long nights. Do you want to say hi? Even though we have lots of long nights. Look at this head full of hair. You're so cute. Yeah, she's a pretty good little baby. 7 weeks old already. 7 weeks. We've had you for 7 weeks. Yeah. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that gives some of you some insight into C-section and how the whole recovery process is. Hopefully I covered everything. If you have any other questions, what is the matter? Is my hair getting you? This is why I want to cut my hair. If you have any other questions about my C-section recovery or what is involved, put it in the comments down below. I will, yeah, we're having a breakdown. I will do my best to go through and answer all of your questions. But until next time, we're gonna go feed this little beast. Can you say bye? Can you say bye?